So it is February 20th, and if you are new to this channel or don't really know who I am, that's fine. To contextualize a little bit, I am a law school student. I'm an independent author. If we're gonna go through all my credentials, I'm a dog dad, I'm a boyfriend, a fiance. But particularly because I'm a law school student, I do not get a lot of time, a lot of free time to read just for pleasure. Because I'm an independent author, I am constantly reading the stuff that I write, to edit, to format all of the stuff that I write, all of the books that I'm planning on publishing. And so it is constantly a real struggle to read books, fiction books, for pleasure, mostly because I also have a lot of reading that I need to do for my law school classes. Now, with that being said, I live in North Carolina, and we just got a huge, that's a bit dramatic, we got a huge snowstorm relative to North Carolina. Now, if you live in Alaska, if you live in the Northeast, in New England, it's not huge by any means. It was only 4 to 5 inches that we got, but that's huge for North Carolina. So that was enough to the point where my classes have been canceled for law school for today and tomorrow. And because of that, I'm gonna do my first ever readathon in the last 6 years. I did a readathon. I've done a couple of readathons when I was in undergraduate school. And a readathon is basically where you declare that you are gonna do nothing but read for the next 10 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours, where you set the goal to set a certain amount of hours and just do nothing but read for that whole entire time. Now, this is gonna be a somewhat loose or liberal kind of readathon. I'm not gonna sit down and only read for the rest of the day. You know, like I said, I have dogs. Even though classes were canceled, I still have assignments that I need to work on to use my time wisely. But I do have a lot more time for the next 2 days to read than I normally do. With all of that being said, I have a lot on my February TBR, and I think it would be awesome if I could kind of make a lot of progress on that TBR. I'm currently reading Crescent City, the first book, House of Earth and Blood, with my girlfriend. We're both working our way through that book together, as well as I'm reading Old Man's War by John Scalzi. I'm reading Live Suit by James S.A. Corey. And I'm listening to Mistborn on audiobook. I think realistically, if I apply myself today, I could finish Old Man's War and I could also finish Live Suit. I could make a lot of progress through House of Earth and Blood with my girlfriend and probably listen to about 5 hours of Mistborn, which will put me in a really good position to actually finish all of the books that I have on my February TBR. So this is going to be a vlog style video where I bring the audience with me as my girlfriend and I go to a coffee shop to read in the apartment, and also have a lot of fun in the snow with the dogs. So instead of, let me backtrack. My girlfriend and I sat down and made a plan for the day. Like I said, I'm an indie author. I wrote these 2 books as well as 2 other books, and I sell them on the TikTok shop. And because of that, I have a few orders that I need to fulfill. I need to pack some orders, sign these books, and get them shipped out to customers. So instead of filming me packing those, which would be boring for you to watch, I'm going to go ahead and put up a little B-roll edit of me, my fiance, and the dogs having fun in the snow.
Of the ordinary, I want you laying me down till the dead and buried, on the edge of your knife, staying drunk on your vibe. The angels up in the clouds are jealous knowing we found something so wild. Of the ordinary, you got me kissing the ground, we're a sanctuary. Shadow me with your touch, will love return
So we just got back with the dogs, playing in the snow. They're tuckered out. We're kind of tuckered out. So my fiance and I are going to head out of the apartment and go to a coffee shop. We're going to bring our Kindles with us and get some reading done. Our plan for the day is to get as much reading done at this coffee shop as well as, just laying around the apartment. And then we're also going to go to the gym and I'm going to run the dogs later. And that is when I will listen to my audiobook during the gym and the run, essentially. So I'll bring my phone with me to record at the coffee shop, get a couple clips, and then the day will be almost over. So I did not tell you the caveat of going to the coffee shop, and that is that we can't leave until both of us finish a book.
We're gonna be here all day.
So you better start reading. We ended up going to this local coffee shop called Biao's Books and Brews here in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's actually this nice little place. It was really busy when we showed up, but they serve coffee, tea, and they also have an assortment of wine and beer. They also have a small used book section in the corner where you can get paperbacks for $3 and hardbacks for $5, which is pretty cool. And this is where me and my girlfriend got most of our reading done. Okay, so it's about 10:30 at night. I made a ton of progress reading at the coffee shop. I finished 2 books, 2 physical books, and I'm listening to an audiobook currently. Let me go ahead and show my pupper. Oh, come on. Alice. Alice. So I just switched out the dogs. I'm currently listening to an audiobook. I normally listen to audiobooks either when I'm running, when I am working out, or when I'm driving. And so I've probably listened to about 4 hours worth of my audiobook, Mistborn, which is written by Brandon Sanderson, combined today. But I will, when I get home, shower, everything, I will talk about all of the reading progress I made today. Okay, so I just got back from my run. It is past 11 p.m. at night, so we are gonna do this in one take. I don't care how many times I stutter or stumble over my words because I am very tired at this point. So, like I said, I went ahead and did a readathon today where I tried to read as much as I possibly could. That's all I prioritized. Other than the only other thing I did today was go to the gym, do my run, and I went to the coffee shop with my fiance, which is where we did primarily most of the reading. So, without further ado, I don't have a total page number. I will calculate that I'll put it like in text on this video. But I ended up finishing 2 books, reading probably about 50 pages of another, and listening to 5 hours of my audiobook. What those books that I finished were, I finished Old Man's War by John Scalzi and Live Suit by James S.A. Corey. It's actually really interesting that I finished both of these books in the same day because I had no idea how similar their plots are, and I'll explain that. But essentially, Old Man's War is the story of Earth is in this intergalactic war with all these different planets within not just the solar system, but the universe. And so this entity called the Colonial Defense Force recruits 75-year-olds from Earth that have retired. They recruit these 75-year-olds who essentially don't want to continue getting older, who want a fresh start at a new life. They take them from Earth and they transplant their conscience into the body of a 20-year-old. And so by doing that, through, it's sci-fi, so they explain the methodology for it. Obviously, it's not accurate, or else we'd be able to do it in real time currently on Earth. But they transfer their conscience into this new body, essentially bringing all of the knowledge and experience and training or skills that they have from their 75 years on Earth, and all of that is transferred into the body of a 20-year-old in a way that these new warriors can appreciate what it feels like to be young again and to have a body that has been genetically engineered to be a super soldier, essentially. They have artificial intelligence in their brains that can answer any question they have, that can decipher or translate any foreign language. Their blood, it's called smart blood, and it allows them to run longer without getting winded, increases their endurance, allows them to be able to hold their breath underwater for like 10 minutes at a time. So they become these killing machines, and they're essentially shipped off into the universe to battle all these different aliens. I think in Old Man's War, he ends up battling something like 5 to 8 different species of aliens. And the story, it's not necessarily about the plot, although the plot itself is an interesting concept. It's more so about the character development, and the main character, whose name is also John. His name is John Perry, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's all about his outlook on life and how when he was a human on Earth, he was an anti-war human. He regularly attended anti-war protests with his wife before she passed, and it's all about that man turning 75 and what his experiences in this intergalactic war do to him to change his worldview, his universe view, essentially, and how he kind of turns from this uncomplicated man into someone who doesn't really know what he believes in by the end of the book. And it is fascinating, and was a very quick, fast-paced plot, and I read through it really quick. It's hilarious. I would say that this could easily be categorized as a comedy just as much as it is sci-fi. John Scalzi was constantly putting jokes in there and adding comedic relief characters that had me laughing out loud while I was reading it. But the reason I say this is similar to Live Suit, which is a novella, it's a short book from James S.A. Corey. If you don't recognize that name, James S.A. Corey is the author of the Expanse series, but this is a new series that is not in the same continuity as the Expanse. It's a new, not world, but a new series that takes place, and the first book in that series is called The Mercy of the Gods, I believe, which I plan on reading after reading Live Suit. Live Suit reminded me so much of Old Man's War, in the sense that it is the story of a man who, although he's not 75, signs up for this intergalactic war and essentially receives what is called a live suit. These super soldiers are called live suit soldiers, and they remind me a lot of Master Chief and Halo. Even though it's not exoskeleton, they have this almost symbiotic biosuit that it's fabric, but it's It's also as if it's like this living symbiote on them, similar to if you've seen the movie Venom or are familiar with Venom in the Spider-Man universe. It is nanotechnology that is able to stop bullets, stop knife like laceration wounds, but it also is able to, if someone becomes wounded in battle, it can immediately administer medicine, painkillers, and like essentially start to stop the bleeding and actually reverse the wound itself. It's not a spoiler because it happens within the first like 5 pages, but the main character is walking through a river in the first 5 pages, and his ankle ends up getting bitten by this like alligator type creature who rips his leg off, and essentially his life suit not only stops the bleeding but creates a prosthetic leg within his suit so that he can continue marching on in war. And so similarly, it drives the same narrative that Old Man's War does, but in a different way, because there is this question of, or this realization that the main character has by the end of the book, where he realizes that his humanity and his body underneath his live suit, because none of these soldiers are allowed to take these suits off. They are required to wear these suits 24/7 until their tour of duty expires. And so he can't see his body. He becomes dissociated with his humanity. And by the end of the book, not bringing any spoilers in, but it ends up begging the question of, am I even human anymore? Or am I more of a machine than I am a man? And it's a message that I really enjoyed. And I'm not sure if the live suit soldiers are in Mercy of the Gods in this new series that James Corey is publishing. I really hope they are, because I did really enjoy what they brought to this story, and it's a great novella. It's super fast paced. It is only 80 pages, so you can breeze through it. So yeah, that's what I have to say. I would rank both of those books 5 stars for me. As far as what else I read that was physical, I read a bunch of pages out of, I always want to call it Crescent City, but that's the name of the series. The book is House of Earth and Blood. I read probably about 50 pages of this today. This is my first ever romantasy book. I'm reading it alongside my fiance. Other than today, we've been doing a chapter a day, but because we had this extra time, we moved a little bit faster today than other days. And for my first ever romantasy, I'm actually really loving this book. I've never read a book that has fae or fallen angels, and this combines a lot of creatures that I'm familiar with that I've never seen combined in this way. So it has, like I said, it has fae, it has fallen angels, but it also has stuff like werewolves, other animal shifters, witchcraft and witches, sorcerers, just all these different people that wield all these different kinds of magic, and I've really been enjoying it. It's almost like a murder mystery, a whodunit narrative where someone's murdered within the first 100 pages, and you are trying to follow the main character as she tries to unravel who is responsible for this murder. So really been enjoying that. And then last but not least, I listened to 5 hours of Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I've been loving this book. This is the first book I've ever read or listened to by Brandon Sanderson. It already has a lot of hype, so I'm not gonna, rant about it all day, because there's a million videos online talking about it and how much of a genius Brandon Sanderson is and how well he writes. But it's fantastic. The world building is great. The characters are lovable, and the prose is pretty fantastic as well, especially because this is one of the earlier books that Brandon Sanderson got published. It might actually be the first, no, I believe HUNTRESS was the first book he got published, but it was one of the first books he got published, and the prose is pretty fantastic, considering the fact that this was one of his earlier works. Actually, while I was on that run with the dogs, I ran out of audiobook hours on Spotify. I literally stopped my running watch and immediately went to Spotify's website to purchase more hours, because I only have 5 hours left in the book, and I knew that I can't wait 10 more days until when I get more hours to finish this book. So with that said, I listened to 5 hours today, have 5 hours left, so I should be able to finish this book by the end of February, and I'll talk more about that book in my February wrap-up video for everything I finish in February. So that is the end of the readathon. I enjoyed the snow, the dogs enjoyed the snow, I enjoyed some time off to rest and relax. With all of that being said, this time next week it'll be March, and I'll be doing my February wrap-up and March TBR.